Hi, welcome to the Wellness Agents. Thriving in a changing world, and there is always more to learn, is what we're about. I'm Karen.
And I'm Sarah, and today we thought we'd have a discussion around fear. It's a huge topic, but we can make a start on it and just generally have a discussion around, how we can deal with it, maybe, and also give you some strategies on how you can deal with it if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed. Because, there's so much fear in so many ways. Just being human on this planet at the moment, I think, is enough. And it can be personal fear, as in what's going on for you, but also we're subject to this whole collective fear. So you might be doing really well, but you still be affected by the sort of global collective fear that's hanging around. So you might be feeling it. And what might you be feeling? How's it landing in you? Because we're seeing some pretty
Because I knew we were
behaviour.
going to be talking about this today, Sarah, I also feel how close it runs with anger and that reactivity, where people might be acting out anger, but actually they're really just almost terrified, so the road rage we're seeing an increase in. So, it was interesting to kind of think about fear from that anxiety, depression sort of scale, but also where people are unreasonable.
Well, I suppose it plays
Literally.
out. So depending upon people's own personal triggers, and that'll come back to how much work you've done on yourself, how well you know yourself. They might even know that they're fearful. They'll just be angry and acting out as something's triggered them. So, yeah.
I thought it was really interesting. I heard I was in the conversation of where this FIFO engineer was saying he's got a person he has to manage, and they're actually from another country. They're only visiting to be part of the solution for getting whatever has to be done on this mine. And he's very, very quick to go and scream rather than just say, what's going on here? And as soon as he starts raising his voice, and apparently he literally screams, other people put down their tools. So it's very disruptive to the flow of work. And it was this guy that was in this conversation with me, it was his job to kind of put out the fire. And so I was really interested to hear how he went about that. He just took the guy aside and he just said, all you have to say is what's happening or what's not being done, or, if you ask nicely. And the thing is, this other guy's possibly in a fear state because there's a deadline to meet. He's not in his home country. It's not his first language. There's all these. So many things contributing that. Also, the machinery they're working with, someone could die if it gets done wrong. So, it was just an interesting conversation again where that's why I was kind of linking it with the reaction of being misinterpreted as being like this absolute anger, whereas actually it's fear.
And then his reaction would land differently in all those people that he's affecting. Some will be angry at him, some will just, here we go again, won't be so triggered. So it's like we're all so different, aren't we, as to where we're at with our emotional regulation really comes down
of how to even manage that within yourself.
Or to manage yourself, because I suppose all you can ever do is manage yourself, regardless of what's going on around you. Same with road rage. It's like, do you want to react? And then if you get that feeling of, oh, I've got to react to that, maybe it's time then to take a breath and, oh, well, why do I need to react to that? Why am I being reactive today? Because who cares? Let them go. You don't want to be near them anyway. So it's like, slow down if you have to. Like, how can you just sort of like walk your own path, I suppose, or row your own boat without getting affected by what others are doing around you?
Yeah.
And being aware of, it's that awareness of, what what's going on. It's taking the breath, I suppose. It's pausing before you speak, because once the words are out, it's hard work to take them back or to, you know, change their meaning, isn't it?
Yeah, and like first impressions and things like that, they stick, don't they? With how other people then respond with you. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of fear coming through my kinesiology work. I think it's really sad that I'm seeing it in young people that, you know, like they're young, like we're talking, they've just started high school this year or they're upper primary. But they're that fearful, they don't even want to help themselves. And they're big enough that if mum says, come on, do it for me, that's ready to go, no, not going to. And the part of the problem in the last few years is that younger people have been given the power of consent, where really at the moment they're very much minors and they need the guidance of their parents. You know, so that fear that you can just about see them crawling out of their skin, like it's horrible to witness. And I was amazed. I actually congratulated one mum where I just went, you're amazing, because that was really awful to witness someone in so much fear, pain. You could see that it was all consuming. And he would do nothing. Like I've got a thing within kinesiology, which is one of the take homes that I'd love for people to take out of this talk, is where you put the index finger to your thumb and the third finger rests on the nail. Now, most people immediately squeeze as tight as they can. It really is just that finger sandwich. And that links in with the work you do, Sarah, in that for a long time, no kinesiologist could tell me what that actually was until this young Indian yoga teacher said, do you think that could be a mudra? And immediately I thought, absolutely, because those mudras are so powerful within the energies that they are giving our etheric being. The other way you can do it, or you can do it for somebody else if they let you touch you. And I used to do this in nursing. I would ask, can I hold your head? But I didn't always wait for an answer. I would just sort of kind of leap in. And that's holding the forehead and the back of the head. And that's called frontal occipital hold. And when you are doing that on a very physiological level, you're heating the outside of your brain. And it's the outside of your brain where you do your most mature thinking. So in the very, very basic terms, in the formation of the baby, when it's not even probably looking like a baby, the nervous system is one of the first things created because it's so necessary for heart rate, blood pressure, temperature control, breathing rate, all those things we do without even thinking. The next part of the brain that goes around that is the limbic system, which is our emotional, is where we store memories and our responses to keep us alive. That part is being developed. So whatever mum's going through with her pregnancy, bub is getting that. And then the very outside of the brain is the cortex. And that's where, if you're 12 years of age, you're doing a 12-year-old way of thinking. If you're 40 years of age, 40 years of wisdom and acquisition of knowledge. And it's also what we've lost with losing respect for our seniors in our community, because they've got 70, 80 years of 90 years of wisdom. And so what we're doing, that's a mudra version of this. But if we're bringing more blood supply to the cortex, we're getting ourselves out of the emotional center where we're reacting, and it allows us to go, Oh, okay. Now you're not likely to do that down the shops. It wouldn't bother me these days, but I don't need to because I do that. You can be really discreet with that because you could have your arms folded, you could have your hands in your pockets, hands down by your side. I have been in an argument like that, but I married a part Italian, so came with the license. But the thing is, it will keep you in your cortex. And then you will do the wisdom of what you have learned through the pattern of life sort of thing. But these kids are so fearful. They're not even, no, I'm not going to do that. And no, you can't touch my head. And whether it's me or their parent, because I always have the parent in the room. And I just it was heartbreaking seeing these young kids. You don't work with kids at the moment?
No, but interesting what you're saying there about, the once you calm the nervous system back down to get out of that fight or flight or freeze response, when we can't remember all the things we do know, because you could learn how to respond in a crisis, but if it's not well grooved into your neural pathways, you're not going to very easily get back there. And when you're in that immediate stress response, you're not going to get there at all. So the best thing you can do, and this is why people don't realize the importance of repetition and practice and turning up to make these daily habits of a mantra of peace or a word or showing up on your yoga mat each day for some practice, because what it's doing is creating a new habit. And then when you need that the most, it won't be hard for you to slot back into the groove of that established habit. But if you don't have the habit established and you haven't got those neural pathway grooves of helpful habits or habits that are going to help you deal with fear, then you're going to struggle. You haven't got the resilience there. You're going to need some help. So it's why all the traditions all around the world have spiritual practices of prayer, mantra, meditation, going within, reciting one word, or having a phrase that you repeat, or the mala beads or the rosaries. They're all for that purpose, so that when you are in need of them, that groove is well worn and it's a habit that you've got into that brings you back in, because you want to come back into yourself. You want to come back into that. Only you can create the peace. The fear, I used to teach about fear in a few workshops years ago, and I used to sort of break it down to the F meaning false, fear, F-E-A-R, false expectations appearing real. Most of the time, what we're frozen with fear about isn't real. Yeah. So, and then it gets carried, then it grows in our mind, because then the stress response is there, and then you start getting anxious, and then it just becomes a vicious cycle. So what do you do in those times? It's the time when you're in that you've got to remember to breathe, usually just, take a breath. But sometimes you just need a reminder to say, okay, stop, take a breath. Now, what do I do that's most nourishing to bring me to the safe point? Because if you can have a safety point within you, like right within you, that's your best place. You're not reliant on anybody else. You've got it within you. And that's what we're not taught anymore. That's what we've lost, isn't it? We haven't got those tools. We're not sort of taught that deep wisdom that's innate wisdom of being self-sufficient to manage ourselves. That does, like you say, gets passed down from the elders, and being in their presence and feeling and watching, and it sort of gets transferred in that sort of natural community way. We've lost all that.
Yeah.
And so we are sort of like, we are like a helium balloon that, you've let go of the string and off you go. There's nothing to grab onto for so many people. I think it's a bit of a, certainly, like you say, it's reaching a peak. There's a lot of fear around. So,
there's some pretty big stuff happening globally that
because Australia is a country of migrants. And like, even though my parents were both, like, even their parents were born and bred in Australia, my parents were children during World War II. So the impact of World War II still affected people, even if they weren't in a war zone, because they might have had loss of relatives, but they certainly had food restrictions. And, there was a big focus on whether, even in our sleepy little state that can get told that we're wait a while sort of thing, we were still at risk of we were bombed, but because we're such a big state, it was so far away from our capital city. But that fear of what's going on around the world, I really did want to bring into it, because one of the best things we can actually do is sit and be calm and just send love to everyone, whether you like them or not. And that can be hard, but but it's one of the best things we can do, is just project calm and love.
Have a practice.
And if you
can't show up for yourself, show up for someone else.
And if you're a parent, you're going to think immediately of your children. Or if you're looking after elderly parents that are needing a bit more hands-on care sort of thing, let them be a focus, if, like you say, if you can't do it for yourself. But like, I knew that for a long time before I ever took it into my personal life, because it was a kinesiologist that taught me to do that when we were discussing things that were a bit stressful from the past. But I had to be under a verbal attack, which was pretty horrible at the time. And because it was like an assault, I immediately did that with my fingers, but I didn't have it up there in the air. I just had them down by my side. And it was within, it was inside of seconds, and it could have been microseconds. I went from feeling the worst customer in Bunbury to this person, to shifting to, man, is he got too much work on his plate and he is stretched to the max. Which immediately took me out of the picture. So I stopped taking it personally. Fortunately, his wife heard all the noise, so she came out and said, I think I'll take over from here, and gently removed him from the scene, and then the whole transaction went calmly. I actually never even lost my cool. Even when he was going at me, it was more like, whoa, what's going on here? But I was willing initially to go, oh, what have I said that's upset him? And then really, someone could have said, have a nice day, and I think he would have got angry, because he was just so overwhelmed with his work.
Yeah, there's a lot of that around too, I think. So for me, as a takeaway, I think I'd offer, one is the breath, because the breath will change you in an instant. So if you can sort of regulate your breath, so the easiest thing is to take a long out breath, have a sort of sigh, just sigh it out, and then count the in-breath. So you might breathe in, and it might be really sort of small counts in these situations. So you might breathe in for the count of 2, and then breathe out for the count of 4. So you're going to double the out breath. So if we did it, say, let's do 5 rounds of it. If we breathe in for 2, so in for 2, out for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, in for 2, out for 4, 2, 3, 4, in for 2, out for 4, in for 2, out for 4, one more, in for 2, out for 4. And straight away, that will calm the nervous system down and just give you that opportunity to be a little bit more responsive instead of reactive. And if that's a good count for someone who's really stressed, you might breathe in for longer and you might breathe out for longer, but that's a good starting point. And then what I've recently learned, or this is a yogic technique, but also with the yoga mantra training, is to hum. So after you've done your breathing, then if you really want to just soothe and get that whole vibrational soothing, it doesn't have to be a loud hum, but just take a breath in and just make the sound. So you're just going to breathe in.
And you can feel it right through.
And you'll notice that when you're doing that, you can actually do it for much longer. So once again, what it's doing is extending the out breath. And then as you're doing that, let's just say do 2 or 3. And while you're doing it, is there any part of your body that you might want to send that into? And you send it into your shoulders and let your shoulders relax. Can you let it relax into your belly? Can you let it relax into your hips and down your legs? And it's a very quick fix for just really soothing, calming, vagal toning, all those things that reverse the effects of stress. And then when you've got into that place, if you had your own little mantra or word or affirmation. Then start saying, then just start repeating that and get that flowing through your being again. And it's like a sort of like instant fix for bringing the pressure down in the moment. Simple things. They're really simple things that we often forget. It's not complicated. It's remembering to do.
So, Sarah, with the breath, certainly with the humming, you're going to have your mouth closed while you're breathing out. But does it make any difference for that calming effect of the 2-second breath in and the 4-second breath out, for example? Would the breath out be through the nose, the mouth, or it doesn't matter?
Well, it's if you can just let it out through your mouth, I think that's the easiest for most people. You can breathe in through your nose if you can, and out through pursed lips. It's like the humming slows it down. Pursed lips slows it down. So
yeah.
Okay. And at first, if someone's really hyper aroused, then it might be really exaggerated, but they're probably more likely going to want to breathe out through their mouth than their nose.
Because I'm aware also that the longer breath out will reduce the risk of feeling dizzy and lightheaded because if you're really stressed, you're really doing shallow breathing as opposed to that lovely deep right down the bottom of your lungs stuff. That's good. I feel really calm now.
It's they're quick tools, aren't they? And this one, like you told me that, I use that often. You can even, like, if you're in a situation where with the humming, you can do it really quietly. You could do it so quietly that probably no one would hear you. So you could also do that in public, or you could almost just picture yourself doing it, because that visualization is the same as really doing it.
Very powerful. Very powerful.
But what was I going to say about you might be in a room, or you might be listening to others, and it might not be you, but you might be affected by others' stress and emotions. You might have walked into an emotional pool and so that can protect you, can't it? And you might not be the direct participant in that, but you might find yourself in a situation where, oh, I can feel this landing in me and it's not any of mine, and that will just help you with that too.
Even watching the news, if you're seeing something pretty or being told about a news, turn it off for sure. But you know how Chinese whispers goes around, and if it sounds something that you feel really triggered, it's a great thing to. The thing is, we're taking our lungs wherever we go, so it's free, it's portable, and we've usually got our fingers on the end of our hands. So, they're two beautiful, simple strategies that can make a world of difference with how you manage life in 2024.
Yeah. So, if you can take that away, one simple tool, and just practice it. Make a little sort of commitment to yourself to practice it every day, because it's going to do you good anyway. You don't have to wait for an emergency to use these things. Use them every day and start to feel the benefits every day. So to get that groove started, start practicing. A little bit of humming
What
every
a
day.
great way to fall asleep, doing your
Yes.
breathing and have your fingers like that. You're going to have this lovely quiet mind, but you're also oxygenating your body with those beautiful
Yes.
breaths.
Everyday
And
practice.
your nervous system being calm. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you do need it, it's already, the memory's already there. You'll slip into it so much quicker than, oh, what was that thing again? I can't remember it because it's not in my muscle memory. It's not in my cellular memory. So put it there. That's your homework. Put that in there. Start practicing. And if you can't do it for yourself, then do it for others, because as soon as you bring your pressure down, you bring that collective pressure down, and we've got to bring this collective pressure down. So let's do it for
And show this to any kids doing exams at schools or something like that, so that they're, you know, in their best part of their brain for recalling the information they need.
So thank you for joining us. Remain curious, and we acknowledge there's always more to learn. There's always more to take in. So keep your mind open, and we will see you again. Bye.
See ya. Bye.